Great day, great day. I'm Dr. Tammy White-Jolivette. Welcome to the Texture of Me podcast, where we talk about the intersection of textured hair, identity, and mental health, bringing a cultural and clinical lens to hair loss, scalp health, and the real-life impact on confidence and well-being. Each episode, we name what people experience, break down the impact, and share language and tools that support healing, confidence, and cultural understanding. If you've ever felt unseen, judged, or misunderstood because of your hair, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Great day, great day. This is Dr. Tammy White-Jolivette with the Texture of Me and the Texture of Me Healing. I am so glad to be with you all today. I have a special guest I'm so excited about. And she is, oh my gosh, the work that she's been up to. You know, I always love to share about my guests because my guests to me are amazing and they're impacting the world. And I love what they do. And we are so aligned on this mission on bringing awareness about hair health and the psychological impact it has on people across the world. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest. Her name is Kendra Davis. She's the founder of Hands of Care. She's a certified trichologist, cranial prosthesis specialist. Did I pronounce that right? Awesome. Licensed cosmetologist, hey, certified clinical medical assistant, and more than 15 years, Kendra, of patient care experience. It's inspired by her own hair loss journey. Ooh, I'd love to hear more about that. And she's passionate about helping women and children navigate hair loss, scalp concerns through compassionate education, individualized hair wellness solutions, and cranial prosthesis services. Her mission is to help every client feel informed, supported, and empowered throughout their crown journey. Wow, Kendra, that is so awesome. I'm so grateful for you taking the time to be with us today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes. Before we get into it, I really, could you give us a brief story? Like, what was your natural hair journey? Because you said this inspired you, right? Because your own personal journey. Could you tell us a little bit about what that journey was?
So my natural hair journey has been a journey. I started pulling at my hair when I was about 12 years old. Back then, I didn't know there was a term for it. I just knew I picked and pulled at my crown of my hair. That caused a bald spot in the middle. Because I styled my own hair, I hid it. I didn't want people to see it or know that I had a bald spot. So just that kind of drives me because I don't want nobody to go through what I went through. I want them to know that there is somebody that can help. There is support. So yeah.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I think that's another component that people don't talk about by the pulling your hair. That is actually a psychological thing that goes on, right? And I personally had a patient, a young girl, in fact, who was pulling her eyebrows, and that's one of the things as well that we won't get into it, but I do want to put emphasis on it that is something that the youth actually do. And it's something that's not spoken about. And I don't know about you, but I feel like there's so many intricate parts about hair and mental health that we don't speak on that has us actually talking even here today, right? So could you also tell me a little bit, because I have an interest on what is a cranial prosthesis specialist?
So a cranial prosthesis specialist is someone who specializes in medical wigs for people going through hair loss. It can be partial hair loss, total hair loss. It's basically like a medical wig. We can get insurance to pay for it depending on your insurance plan. It's a medical wig, basically, cranial prosthesis.
Oh, that's so awesome. It's funny because I've been in the industry for so long, but I knew about it, but I didn't know that was the term for it. So that's really great. That's really great. Awesome. Well, tell me what inspired you to become a trichologist? Even more, I know your own personal journey, but what else showed up for you?
Okay, so my own personal journey, as well as in 2020, I had a client that came in for goddess locks, And when I was doing her assessment, I noticed that she had a bald spot in the middle. It was shiny and like real smooth. And so I asked her what happened. She said it was due to some trauma when she was younger, and it just never grew back. And she was like, I didn't know what to do. I just, same like me, she hid it, didn't want people to see it. And she was like, are you able to still do my goddess locks without it showing? And just like, hair loss is so emotional. And so after that client, I got to researches and looking, and I was like, there has to be something that specializes in hair loss. Like, what can I do if somebody else comes to me with that issue? So I got to look in, and I found the program through Dr. Carrie Williams. And I had already taken her Goddess Lock program, so I knew, she's a real good teacher. So I looked into that, contacted her on that, and ended up taking that program.
Mm-hmm. So even after that, did you find out that you had more clients coming in with that issue?
Not with that particular issue that she had, but just other people coming in with hair loss. I also see people who come in with chemotherapy-induced hair loss. So that's where the cranioprosthesis comes in at.
Gotcha. So, speak a little bit more about type of clients that you typically work with.
So I'm a natural hair specialist as well. I specialize in locks. So I do a lot of lock clients.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like, because a lot of people I know who have locks, I realize that there's a specialty, but people don't realize there's a specialty because sometimes the locks can be pulled too tight, right? So,
Absolutely.
what have you been seeing? How have you been able to? And I don't know if you have a secret to it or anything, but I'm just saying because if you got people coming, there's something that you're seeing that really helps with people to keep the locks, right? So, what are some key pointers that you feel that you would like to share with other locticians or people who are wearing locks, how to take care of their locks?
So one of my biggest issue is not maintaining them. So not coming back in 6 to 8 weeks for their lock retwist. That'll cause their locks to hang like on little strands, and that'll cause them to fall out. So that's mainly the biggest issue I have with a lot of lock clients. They don't come get it retwisted as as frequent as they should.
Mm-mm. So what's the longest that they should? Because I'm thinking a lot of times I think locks, every 6 months, but I could be totally wrong, because I know about locks, I know how to do them, but they're not my specialty, right? And even my oldest son, he has locks all the way down his back. He's like, what is it, 6'3", 6'4"? So those locks are pretty long. Beautiful,
Yes.
right? Yes, and he does see them, but I don't know the maintenance. I just see them. So could you share with us like how long should a person, you know, the longest they have?
Really,
Yeah.
it depends on the person. Everybody's hair growth cycle is different. I would say don't go over the 8 weeks. I have some clients that come and within 4 weeks they need a retwist, and then I have some people within that 6 week cycle. But I would say definitely don't go over them 8 weeks because they gonna start falling out.
Gotcha. And depends on the hair texture and and how they take care of their hair too, right?
And absolutely, if they wrap it at night, put a scarf over it, or they just go to bed without maintaining it, just letting it free fall.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with this bonnet thing. They need to get adjusted to because everybody, the bonnet, my whole crew, my whole family wearing bonnets. It's important.
It is very important. It
Yes,
is. It
yes,
helps with the maintenance.
yes. So
Home
what are some,
maintenance.
yes, what are some common concerns people bring to you?
With the hair loss or with the locks?
Oh, excuse me. Thank you with the hair loss.
Common concerns, I would say that a lot of people come to me is my hair thinning. I don't know why. I guess that would be like the main issue I see a lot is thinning hair and
Thinning.
them not knowing the reason why their hair's thinning.
Yeah. Because the locks can be very heavy. So that's another thing about locks too, right?
And that's why it's important to get it retwisted on time because, like I said, it'll cause it to start hanging if they don't
Gotcha.
on little threads.
Okay. Awesome. So we're going to pivot a little bit because I had the honor of having you read Tangled Emotions, our book,
Mhm.
Hair and Healing Guide, which I am so excited about. I'd like for you to share with me, after reading it, what was your overall impression?
I enjoyed it. I like the fact that even if I'm not in the hair care field or if I'm not a medical professional, I like that you put it in terms for anybody to understand. I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah. And I appreciate that too because I had just recently went to like an event for hair and scalp health, right? And the terminology that they were using in there, a lot of the hairstylists didn't know, right? And it's funny because I think as a trichologist, you're more into hair care versus hairstyle, right? And
Oh,
it's sad that hairstyle, I don't know if it's sad, but it occurs to me that it's sad because I feel like hairstyles are more about hairstyles versus hair care, right?
right.
And it's not my concept, but it's a concept I think about curly hair consciousness, right? Where before we're doing it, what are we thinking about as far as the integrity of the hair first before we do this, right? Because I'll have clients that come into the salon, and yes, I'm still in the salon. Because it's one of the things I enjoy doing, right? And they're like, well, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I'm like, and let's look at your hair first. Like, what does your hair say, And then what does your scalp say too, right? And then from there, I'll pull, I would say I want to say cyclopedia because it says my age, but I said it already. But pull all that information, right? And what I know about hair, and then I tell people to become a hair engineer and putting it all together. And I'm like, okay, you want this color? Okay, what you got on it? Let me see, da 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 da. And before you know, the creation is made, So I really am really identifying there's a difference from hair care and hairstyle. And I feel like the industry it needs so much of people like you to educate so many people. And the book makes it that much easier for people to understand. And even hairstyles or even a modern day person, and I'll speak on the book a little bit more too, where it brings the psychological aspect that people don't think about, that how it shows up. So it's really a great book, and I know I'm tooting my horn toot and toot toot. And so in any case, I do appreciate the book because it was me and mine and other people as well when I thought about the book, because it was like, wow, I didn't know this exists. Oh, this is why this happens. I'll share real quick where one of my clients, she had, I don't recall the terminology of it, but it was like how her hair strands grew and how they grew, and it's different from all our hair is different. Let's just put it, and the way it grew, it kept popping off. And we was trying to figure out, but once I start writing the book, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what this is. You know what I mean? And so it helped me to know how to help her with her hair, you know? And so she went from it being short to now, literally on her shoulders. Yeah, so it's really just being educated as you are educated in the industry to help people with the scalp health and the hair health is so important, right? What surprised you from the book?
I guess if I would have to say what surprised me, it was actually some terminology in there that I didn't even recognize. And one thing that did surprise me is I remember when I first decided to put locks. I think you called it, what was it called? Not individualized, workplace bias
Hmm.
or
Okay. Mm.
something to that sort. I can't remember what it was called. And what surprised me it was like that I had never heard of that, and it brought back a story for me when I first put my locks. I don't know why, but I was kind of ashamed because they're like little itty bitty, and
Hmm.
so I would wear a hair wrap at work, and I would just wrap. It was real cute, the little cute hair wraps. I would wear that at work because I didn't want to show my hair, but then at home I'd wear my hair. So that kind
Yeah.
of surprised me.
A surprise, yeah. That is a big thing that we don't. I think we subconsciously don't realize workplace bias, right? Like what a beauty standard should be, right? And I could totally understand, even like, I can't say I went natural when I was in the corporate world. I went natural in the beauty salon where my coworkers were so accepting to my hair more than I was, which was weird.
Really?
Yeah, because it was like, why don't you wear your curls in? And I'm just like, could you not, And then I don't know if you ever heard the story, but when I initially went natural, I laugh at it because it's funny every time I think about it. Um, I had a client of mine because I'm doing her hair natural, and she was like, "Well, why don't you wear your hair natural?" I'm like, "Cause you stay in your lane, please." Like literally, like, why are you over here with me? I'm doing your hair, you stay over there. And at that moment, I thought to myself, why am I not wearing my hair natural? I'm sitting here telling them how they should be, why not? And so, and mind you, it was natural per se, but I was flat ironing, right? And so next thing I know, I decided, I said, you know what? Let me try because I can always go back to my usual routine. And Kendra, when I tell you I decided to do that, I could see the psychological stuff happening and the trauma. And reason why I'm sharing this is because the internal dialogue of what beauty looks like and the biases that I had within myself. It wasn't even out here. Because even when you shared about uh at work, nobody really said anything, I'm assuming, but you just felt, like, oh my gosh, I can't let them see my hair like this and covering up. They didn't even say nothing. And
No,
that's
nothing like that.
right. And that's the psychological trauma that I tell people about that is hidden, but it's silent, but so loud, right?
It is.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Were there any terms or concept that you found you think differently about? How would I say this? Let me ask it in. Were there any terms or concept that made you think differently about your work?
I would say it made me feel different. I would say it was an eye opener
Mm,
that kind of made me realize, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing this for myself. Because even before I even put my locks, I went natural like 12 years ago, and
mhm,
before I went natural, I would put perms.
mhm.
And I was like clockwork with my perms. If I seen a little kink in it, I need to put me a perm. It need to be straight. So I think for me, the book made me realize the emotional part and how we don't even realize that we're self-consciously judging ourselves.
Yeah, that is so good. And, I could only imagine as a trichologist reading the book that you could see who you really are in the sense of the impact that you are making. You know what I'm saying? Like the terms and like, oh, I know about this. And I know, the clients that came to mind and who you're helping and how your work is so impactful just by, I mean, you already knew it, but I feel like just, I could be wrong, but I could see just how that opened up another part in your mind. Like this work that I'm doing is important. It's making a difference. That's so
Right.
much so that it just, I feel like it inspired me, to even reach out to you. I say I need to have trichologist. I need to talk to Kendra. Let's talk because I need to find out what she knows and let's get together. And hence we have the podcast. You know what I mean? So I know for me it brightened up just the thought process of things that we don't talk about, we don't even know about. And I haven't seen a book out there that brought it the way that I was bringing it, that I felt like this is important as a contribution to the work that we're doing, you know?
Because you put that medical term, and then you also, like I said, you put it to where, like, say if I don't know anything about hair, I don't know anything about the medical field or anything, you made it to where I can understand, anybody can understand it, that even if they're not in the healthcare field, medical field, they can understand it and be like, oh, this is what's going on with my hair. Wow, I didn't know this. Now I do.
Right, right. I didn't tell you, but I know you got a chance to read it, but I also created a revised version that they did the launch. I actually put pictures in because I felt like pictures were really needed.
Wow.
Yeah, so this time now people have pictures to look at because it was a big deal. I feel like because knowing the things but seeing what it looks like makes a big difference. So yeah.
Right, yeah, visual, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good difference. Even though it was pretty
Detail.
interesting of being able to understand it, I think the picture is gonna bring it out more.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. As a trichologist, do you think having hair and scalp and mental health language guide is important? I think you already said that. Yeah, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, because I think it all goes together, because as far as our body, it's all one. So I feel like, with your hair, your hair care matters in a whole sense. Like
Yeah.
for me, I know when I'm not drinking enough water, when my hair starts feeling dry and brittle, so I know, okay, you need to drink some water. So I just feel like it's all a whole: emotional, psychological, physical. It's all one.
Holistic. I love that. Yes, yes. Um, did the book change the way you think about your conversations with your clients and how?
I would say yes. I would say it did. It did change because I feel like I can, with my clients, I can go over the book, and sometimes when I'm explaining it to them, because I'm explaining it to them from a trichology point, I feel like I can bring
Mm.
out the book and be like, okay, this is what I'm talking about, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like it'll help make more sense to them,
Oh, I
basically.
love that, Kendra. Thank you for adding that. Okay, that is so great. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I love the book. And I'm just really present to how helpful it really is, and being a contribution to the work that we're doing. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Um, how do you feel like it relates to the emotional well-being when you reflect from the book?
I feel like a lot of people don't realize how emotional hair loss or just dealing with that is. So I think the book helps correlate. Like I said, it helps them understand it more that this is what they're going through. It helps them recognize it better.
Gotcha. Mm. What role do beauty professionals play in helping people feel heard? What do you feel about that? Being a trichologist and a cosmetologist, what do you feel? How do you feel that this helps them to be heard?
I feel like it helps people to be heard because people spend more time with their beauty professional than they spend with their doctor. So I feel like us as beauty professionals, we're here to guide them because they're here with us more than they see their doctor. So if we notice something that looks off or anything like that, we can always refer them out to a dermatologist, or if it's psychological, I can refer them to you. So I feel like, I don't know, I feel like as beauty professionals, our role is like a lot. Like,
Mm.
like it can turn into a counseling session,
Right.
I feel like it, I don't know how the word I'm looking for, but like we do a lot when it comes to helping people feel beautiful, heard, and seen. It's a word I'm looking for that I can't think of,
It'll come to
but
you, I'm sure. But and I appreciate you saying that. And I think hence why I even became a psychologist, right? Like being in the industry and realizing that we're just so influential of how we are contributing to our clients' lives when we have those conversations, behind the chair, talking to them and being, um, having compassion and listening to their concerns and wanting to help them with their concerns. And one of the big things in this industry with the scalp and hair, right? And it makes a big impact on how they view themselves. And people don't realize, but it does. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Hey, a quick pause here. If you're ready to go deeper, I want to invite you to two resources. First, the Texture of Me Healing is where we provide therapy, coaching, focus, psychological evaluation for adults navigating anxiety, stress, trauma, and identity based experiences, including the emotional impact tied to hair loss, scalp health, and appearance changes. Links are in the description. Second, my book, Tangled Emotions, The Hair and Healing Guide, is available now. It offers clear definitions, real life experiences, and supportive next steps to help you name what you're experiencing with compassion and clarity. Now, let's get back to the episode. Now, would you recommend this book this guide to other trichologists?
I would, absolutely, definitely would. Yes, ma'am.
So, from your perspective as a trichologist, why do you feel, I'm going to change it a little bit, but why do you feel scalp and hair health is so important?
I get basically it goes back to what I was saying about your body as a whole. So if you're notice something going on with your scalp, like for instance, I do this hair mineral analysis test, and it helps clients see the mineral and nutrients that they're deficient in. And some of them, they can take that report to their doctor, and their doctor can see it. So they were all working together for the good of the client.
Mm. That's really great. I didn't know you had services like that. That's really awesome. Yeah. And and I could see the passion that you have for your clients and their well-being, because I'm sure the blood work will also show other things that they may need to address that they didn't think about that's causing their hair to deal with that. So that's really great. That's really great. I don't know if I had mentioned to you that we've created the Tangled Emotions Collective as a community, and expanded it where we're launching coaching for clients. However, I want to speak to you. How important do you feel like community, how important community is for this type of work?
I feel like community is very important for this type of work, because I just think like not one person can help a client. Um, I think community is really important because we're all working together for the good of the client.
Gotcha.
So just in even like collaborate, even like one I might work with another trichologist. They might know something I don't know, or they might have seen something I haven't seen, so I can bounce stuff off of them. So I
Right.
feel like community is very important.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to what you're saying too, because I feel like community, not from just the specialist perspective, but community as far as individuals who are experienced in the journey, right? That they're not alone, and just speaking to community from the aspect when we feel like we're not alone, we can embrace it better. We can have hope for, I would say, a brighter future, but we can see that it's possible. And if it's not possible, we have someone to hold our hand or someone to talk to, right?
To help guide you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's really, really great. Um, yeah, is there anything else you want to add in what we're talking about? Because I don't want to be like a Q and A asking you all these questions, but I want to, just loosen up and just express some things. But I did want to ask you a few things. So, is there anything that you see to add in this conversation of what we're talking about?
Um, I guess I would say coming from like an emotional state, like with your background, what would you say, like, in some ways, when clients are in the chair, that a stylist or a trichologist is able to help them when they're in the chair?
Well, yeah, thank you for asking. Key points is looking at what's there for them. And I think an ideal client, they come in and sit down. I, ask them where their hair journey is, where their hair goes, right? And then I'm listening to what they're saying. And then they're part of those trigger words, right? Where because they'll tell us through their emotions, right? They either start crying because some past history that they're dealing with, or even the goal that they have, right? It's one of the things. It was funny because I remember it was some other hairstyles I was talking to, and we were talking about how they say they just want this much off. You already know if there's some trauma, you know what I'm saying? When they like, I just want trim, but don't just only because this much off. You already know that there's trauma in there, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, don't you better not. And if you once you just cut off what they ask, you're the best friend, right?
Right.
And so that's one of the key components that I identify when there's like they don't want this much off. And then they go into the store and then they share. And before you know it, is the emotions all come up and then we hear all about the history and all that they've gone through. And then, I'm able to pinpoint those things and then have them to see something possible. And before you know it, Kendra, they're just whatever how they were intense at the beginning and they become relaxed, you know. And I can see it in their eyes how they trust me now because I can speak their language, you know. And before you know it, we're like best friends. And especially, I still honor this much off. You know what I mean? Because that's that trust factor. They have to know that they can trust us, right? And even I know they may need this much off, but if they ask, give them what they ask for. Because I think about even just my own personal journey when I told them I just want this much off and they did it this way anyway. And I'm not coming to you no more. You're not listening to me. And that's what we talk about them being heard, right? And so before you know it, I'm able to create something for them, even with that little bit off.
Right.
That they're like, they love it. And they're like, oh my gosh. And then they're crying because they're happy because they see a sight for themselves, a version of themselves that they didn't know was possible. Beautiful, defined curls, hydrated curls, and people fail to realize it's really about a lot about hydration with curly hair, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hydration is key, really, with curly hair.
Yeah, it's very key. And so people don't realize it and people get confused with hydration and oil, but that's a whole nother conversation. Oil and water don't mix, so why you put in but we could have another conversation on that later because that'd take us to a whole nother direction. But yeah, so thank you for asking. And so with my work, I can identify what I call post-traumatic hair syndrome and to be and identify where they are in that range. And I do an analysis on it within my mind because, I'm in a salon. I'm not doing like clinical work per se in the salon because it's a salon. But if it was in my private practice, then I'll do that. However, that's some legalities in there. So that's why I focus more on coaching because I can do coaching versus clinical work because the two can't collide. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes me like when you said the word trust, that makes me think about a client that I had. She would come mainly for knotless braids, and whenever I do my knotless braids or any style, I give a wash and a steam treatment.
Hmm.
And I was like, "You need a trim."
Hmm.
She's like, "No, no, I don't want one." And she would not let me trim anything off.
Hmm.
And she still kept coming, kept coming. It wasn't until the third time she came and see me that she actually let me at least trim it. A little, it wasn't much, but she let me at least trim it.
Right. And that's the thing. It was the third time, right? And she trusted you. But if you did it that first time, Kendra, I don't know if she'd come back and she
She
probably
wouldn't come back.
no, she wouldn't have.
That would have been a lost client. So I do hear what you're saying when you say we have to honor what they say. Even though I knew from that first appointment she needed a trim, but
Yeah.
I don't get what she's saying. I can
Yeah.
advise, but
And that's the thing I think in this industry where we're able to understand where they're at and to, give them a space of it's a sacred space for them, you know? It's a sacred space for us. And and I would assert like even you went through your own natural hair journey and there were some psychological things that you went to as you just, shared. And so to have somebody who hears us, trusts us, and for them as well, yeah, we're gonna come back. I have clients come to me faithfully because they trust me.
right.
And now I could do whatever. If I be honest, they're like, I'll say, no, we're just gonna, I just need to do this much because we know with curly hair, you take 2 inches off, that's like four. And
Yes.
and sometimes when they come to me and they're like, I want to go ahead and get 4 inches off. I'm like, what? Like we just barely went to like that 1 inch, and now you want to put, yeah, 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 I'm ready. And then the next thing I do, I may do two, and they're like, oh, I'm so glad you did the 4 inches. No, I did not do the 4 inches. I did two because I knew how you were going to be about it. You know what I'm saying? And so that may be the part where I don't always listen because we know them. You know what I'm
Because
saying?
it's this world when it comes to curly hair.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't realize it, that's shrinkage, but it's
Yeah,
real.
it's real. Yeah. And then that water give that hang time and that water is gone. Woo, that's it. Yes.
That's so true.
Right. And that's where, but I say curly hair consciousness. I really just mean like natural hair. It's just the term curly has been so broadly used. But it's something that we just have an eye for and we have an ear for the listening of people when they have their concerns and knowing how to address their concerns, on the tools that we have and even to guide them. And I feel like that's so important and it takes from being just a hairstylist or a cosmetologist to someone who actually cares for a person and what they're dealing with. And you and I know that in this industry where if their hair looks good, oh, you can't tell them nothing. You know
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And the level of confidence that they have is just, you be like, okay. I can't tell you how many times, especially when I would do the little kids' hair. And after I've done it, they're like doing all this, and it's the neck, yeah.
They can't stop looking in the mirror.
And they can't stop, right? They just look at him over just like, it's funny, and because I'll tell the parents, here it comes, and there it is. And then they do it too, and I'll be like, here it comes. And it's so moving, to know that we can make a difference like that. And the emotions that they come, as far as crying and feeling happy about themselves, feeling confident about themselves, is really a beautiful thing. So I love the work that we're doing. And I really thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast because, you know, being a trichologist, and I'm glad I even know how to pronounce it because at first I remember trying to work how to pronounce it. I'm sure you had people like, how do you say that word?
A lot of people didn't know what it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's in high demand for the work that you're doing. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing, making a difference. Because I think as hairstylists, we're not, like I said, taught about the health of the scalp, not even the hair. And for me as a hairstylist, I took it up on myself to learn because I wanted to see how it was affecting me with my hair. Excuse me, because one of the things I didn't mention, I was also an educator for different brand companies. And a lot of times they didn't focus on our hair, they focused on more straight hair. And I remember one girl was talking to a lady. She said, "Well, I want to do it was a bleach." She said, "I want to do the bleach, and then I'll have a relaxer." And the girl started telling her like she can do that. I said, what? Like who? What? And yeah. And I just really saw that the lack of information was missing. So I always had to have the laser focusing on our hair and what we do with our hair and had to educate the company. Like, no, you can't do both. I was like, in whose life you want to do both? Like, unless you just don't want no hair.
Hair,
So,
all hair.
yeah, exactly. And in all truth, this really is the beauty comes from inside, right? And if we can accept the beauty who we are from the inside, it shows in the outside, and the creativity expands and explodes from there, right? So, yeah, thank you for the work that you're doing. If you could leave the audience with one piece of encouragement, what would that be?
I would have to say, if I could leave someone with one piece of encouragement, it would have to be, you're not alone.
Mm,
Not alone.
yeah, that's really, really good. And I don't know we're coming to a close in the podcast, and I really thank you so much for being on here. Because girl, I could talk to you all day. Okay, we'll schedule a time for you to be back on the show again because I just love the information that you gave and the work that you're doing is really making a difference worldwide, and I really appreciate your commitment to this work. And I'm present to how much you care for people that you want them to feel good about themselves. And hair is the place that we know that's one of the places we feel good about ourselves, right? Yeah, for sure, for sure. So where can people connect with you and learn more about your work?
So one, they can look on my Instagram, which is at Hands of Care 01. It pretty much has all my information and all my other handles on there as well.
Okay, could you repeat that for me one more time and say it a little bit slower?
Sorry.
Okay.
It's going to be at Hands of Care 01.
Oh, one. Okay, awesome. And could they, and what about, do you have any on LinkedIn? Can they contact you on LinkedIn at all or?
Yes, I believe the handle's on there too. When they go on the Instagram, it has all the handles.
Gotcha,
They
gotcha.
can reach me from there through pretty much whatever handle I have.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Miss Kendra Davis, thank you so much for being on our podcast. We'll look forward to having you back. And again, thank you for the work that you're doing. We're so grateful that you were on the show and we appreciate you greatly. All right. See you soon.
Thank you.
All righty. All right, you guys. See you next time. Have a great one. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us today. If today's conversation resonated with you, I invite you to continue the journey with our book, Tangled Emotions, the Hair and Healing Language Guide, which is available on Amazon. So purchase your book today. We also have the Founding Tangled Emotions Collectives. And what this is a community, an opportunity to help you on your journey. Register at thetextureofme.com/education. Again, at thetextureofme.com/education, and register for Founding Tangled Emotions Collective, which starts in August. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for spending time with us at The Texture of Me. If today's episode helped you put words to your experience, do 3 quick things. Subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with someone who needs it. And if you're ready for the next step, check on the links in the description for The Texture of Me Healing and my book, Tangled Emotions. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, your texture, your story, and your healing all matter. Great day, great day. See you next time.